Welcome to the garden. Today I'm going to show you the way that I make the pont connectors, which can be really fiddly and awkward if you're not used to doing it. There is a little bit of a knack to it, but once you know what you're doing and how to do it, and you've tried it a couple of times, you should be alright, and you'll be able to make them as quickly as I'm making them in the background now, which isn't too bad. You can get quicker, but it's a lot easier when you're in a more comfortable position. But here's how you do it, or how I do it. Now, we're just going to get into this, and unlike Friday night after the pub, you don't want to go straight in there unprepared. You want to know what you're doing before you stick it in. So we'll start with the mating parts first that we crimp onto. And when you look at these, you can see that actually they're made up of very different parts, or a couple of different parts, which are common to both the male and female end of it. But we'll have a look at the male end, because that's the one that we exampled earlier. So when you look at the metal, you can see these big wings here at this end of the connector, and then there's some smaller wings inside here. And if you look from there, you can see that there's a channel, so large wings, smaller wings. There's the male end that goes into the female here, and then you've got this region here, which is used to secure the metal part of the pont connector into the plastic housing. So what you want to do is make sure that you've got the sheath in these outer wings, the conductors in the inner wings, and just cut them off so that or only strip off the amount of sheathing so that they don't come out here. Because if they start coming out too far and splaying up, or even if they go over this part, which you can do quite easily, you need to make sure that they're under there. The fact that you've got either splayed ones out here or over there will cause this to catch on the plastic housing, and it will be either very hard or impossible to actually make the connection. So now I know what this bit looks like. We'll strip off what I will do is 6mm, because that's convenient for my stripper. 6mm. And then I'm using an Iwis SN58B. You might have a different device, and I'm sure it works just as well, or doesn't. And whatever die came with it is what these are. And I know that it happens to be this smaller one that works with these connectors best. Your mileage may vary with your tool, you need to find out. So, even though the light's a bit annoying, it may actually help us here. What we have are two parts to this die. And this sort of corresponds with the two parts, or the two wings, on the metal part of the connector. And this side of the wing here, as you look down on the tool, is on the left hand side, assuming you're crimping this way. This part is where the larger wings go, and in the middle there you can see, because of the light quite easily, there's a definite step in the jaw, and that's when you come to this that's where you come to this slightly smaller part on this side, which crimps the inner wings. So what you want to do is ensure that you have the larger wings in this part of the die, and then the smaller wings in this part of the die. So the way that I do it is to take a connector or a metal work, I position it in the die, into the die, and then what I do is pull on the metal to make sure that the outer wings are actually up against that step that we saw in the die, and then you know that it's in the right place. So all the outer wings are done by the large die, and the inner wings are definitely only on the smaller die, which is what the smaller part of the half of the die, which is what you want. Then you slide the cable in, and if you see there, they've kind of splayed out a little bit, which is not what you want. So you need to be very careful you don't do that. And we'll just reset that. So in we go, and I can feel that's okay. And I've pushed it up to the back of the wings, and then I'm just going to put it a little bit further and then crimp. And that bit takes a bit of practice to know how far to push it in beyond the wings. And then what you can see is that we've got the wings in there. It would ideally be a little bit further, but if you look there, you can see that the outer wings are actually on the sheathing, which is what you want. Ideally this would be a little bit further in, but hey ho. And these inner wings are securely clamped over the conductors, and all the conductors are within the smaller wings, and there's none splayed out over here anywhere straggling. So we're not interfering with anywhere that's going to connect either onto the female or into the housing. And then onto your housing, you want to come in from the side with the tab on it and not the hole. And it should very smoothly just push and then click in. And then now that's not going to come apart. That's all she wrote.